Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm actually doing something completely different going forward. So I'm going to be making this channel a lot more racing related. And so if you are a woman in motorsports, whether you're just starting out or if you've been in it for a while, then this channel is going to be for you. I'm going to be pretty much your go-to resource for anything that is related to like motorsports marketing, so you guys can definitely like secure your sponsorship bag. Like, I want you to be funded because women in motorsports already suffer enough when it comes to not really being funded. So that is what this channel is going to be about more going forward. So I'm going to reintroduce myself for people that do not know me. My name is Rachel Thornhill. I have been in the motorsports industry for going on 19 years now, but I wasn't working in the industry. So I've been a race wife behind the scenes for the past 19 years. And I've been working in the corporate world for pretty much the past 20 years, but I have over 20 years of digital and traditional marketing experience. And so I wanted to be able to transition that into motorsports. I am also the host of the Women in Motorsports podcast called Race Wife Unfiltered. And so that's kind of my background. So I'm definitely, pretty much I'm a motorsports marketing queen, and like I definitely want to, I'm passionate about helping women in motorsports when it comes to securing their sponsorships, right? And so we're all about women supporting women here, and so that's why I only work with women. It's not that men in motorsports can't get sponsorships. Like, there are some that struggle too, but I specifically work with women because women struggle a little bit more, because women are the minority in this sport and they are not given a lot of the same opportunities that men in the sport are. We still have a long way to go when it comes to the equal opportunity in this sport. And so that is why I want to be a part of that solution. So today I have 5 tips for you guys when it comes to, how to start securing your sponsorships. For some women in motorsports, they might have a team that does this behind the scenes, and that's great. But I know that there are a lot that do not have a team and they pretty much have to do this on their own. Or, they might have their parents that are helping them, but they might not really know how to go about, pitching sponsors, all these things. Because when you're a race car driver now, especially now these days, you have to play the role of so many different things because you're not just a marketer. Like, you have to also be a content creator. You have to do all these things, right? And so that's where I want to help you guys figure all this stuff out so you can do it yourself, or you could possibly, get someone else to do it, but at least you have the knowledge so you know exactly like what that person would be doing for you, because you're still delegating something, right? You're not just like giving it over to somebody and just letting them run wild with it. You still are the brand, right? So you have to make sure that everything is aligned. So the first thing is you have to create a strategy. Think about the types of sponsors that you want to work with, because there are sponsors that you could possibly get that have never worked with a race car driver before. It's not something that they ever thought of, because that's the crazy thing is, like, people know that motorsports is there, but if they're not in if they're not in the industry or they're not a actual race car fan, a lot of times they don't think about it. They don't think about it when they automatically hear women in sports. They don't even think about women that are race car drivers. So that automatically, like, you're kind of already the odd man out, right? Well, odd woman out, I should say, because people don't automatically think about women that are race car drivers when they think of women in sports, which sucks. But at the same time, it just means that we have to be, we have to really put women in motorsports out there a lot more than what we do as a whole, like as a society, because that's why a lot of people don't automatically think of them. And so for you, that means that you're going to have to really market yourself. You're really going to have to put yourself out there if you've never done that before. So definitely think about, the types of sponsors that you want, and how you'll find them, because that does not mean that you only have to use social media. That's the thing. Like, a lot of people automatically assume that social media is where you need to go. You don't always have to do that. You can also do a lot of networking outside of social media. So you got to figure out how you want to do this. But also another thing too is, don't just go after just anybody, because you want to make sure that you're aligned with that brand, whether it's their brand story, whether it's the products that they sell or the services that they sell, because you don't want to promote something that you don't believe in, because then it comes off, not authentic, because then it just sounds very scripted. Because obviously you're going to have to be a content creator as well, and you're going to have to promote these brands not just on the side of your car. You're going to also have to promote them through social media, through other different avenues. And if you're not comfortable with what they sell, then there's no point of you even having them as a sponsor. So you've got to really think about all of those things as well. The second thing is, you've got to come up with sponsorship packages. So obviously you're not pitching these sponsors yet, but you still need to, figure out, make a small list, right, of some of the sponsors that you probably want to reach out to. But the second thing is creating sponsorship packages. I normally recommend at least 3 to 4 packages, one being a lot smaller, a lower price point, and then one being a way higher price point than all the ones in between. And also they get way more stuff than the others. So you want to make sure that you give quite a variety of incentives. But the thing is, with sponsorship packages, there really isn't a template for it, right? Everybody's sponsorship packages are going to be different. All the price points are going to be different. There's really no set standard in motorsports, because if you think about it, when you get all the way up to NASCAR and F1 and higher organizations like that, you can be talking about millions of dollars, right? And then somebody that's a grassroots racer, you could be talking about $500, right? So there's a huge gap when it comes to the price margin. So do not feel like you have to figure out that you have to figure out what is the norm, because there really isn't a norm when it comes to motorsports marketing. But you want to take into consideration what your overhead is. So if you are somebody that already has an actual team, and it's not just you and your parents that are doing this together, or it's not just you and your wife, or you and your husband, whatever your partner is. I'd say that because we're inclusive here. So whoever your partner is, and especially if you have kids that are possibly racing, and you have girls that are racing or whatever, the thing is, you have to you have to figure all that up, and you want to make sure that whatever sponsorships that you bring in is worth the time and the money, because you want to be able to fund your career. You don't want it to be where you are barely making any money when it comes to the sponsorships, because then for you, if you're not being able to race on a consistent basis with sponsors, their ROI just like goes kaput. Like their ROI, it's not worth it to them. So you have to make sure that you keep your sponsors happy, and the way you keep them happy is having their logo on your car and it actually being shown and not just sitting in your garage, right? So that's why you have to make certain that the amount of money that you're asking these people for, that it is worth it for them. That means that you need to be racing on a consistent basis. But in order to do that, you have to have funds, right? And so that is why you need to make sure that the funds that you're asking for is going to be able to make you sustainable. And that is one thing that women in motorsports, a lot of them do, is they undercut themselves and they undermine their worth. And I do not want you to do that. Do not feel like you are charging too much, because let me be honest. And I'm working currently with 2 women drivers at the moment. And that was the first thing whenever I helped them come up with sponsorship packages. They were like, well, do you think this is too much money? No. Like, the amount of money you're asking is actually not a lot. Like, there are drivers that ask for way more money than what you're asking for. And also, there are just content creators, period, that ask for way more money than what you're asking for. And content creators don't have a race car. You know, race cars have a way higher ROI than anything else, you know, because it's a physical, tangible thing, and it gets somebody's name out in front of a bunch of people at one time. When you're just a content creator, you have to depend on social media to do the job. You have to depend on the algorithm to do the job. When it's a physical thing out in the open, you don't have to depend on that. You only depend on the people that are there seeing the car, right? But that's the thing. You automatically have an audience, a tangible audience, when you're at a racetrack. When you're doing social media, yeah, you might have like your followers, but that's about it. And sometimes your followers don't even see your stuff. You know, we know, I mean, everybody knows about the algorithm. The algorithm doesn't show your stuff to everybody, and that includes your own followers. So it's more of a, with social media, it's more of a, it's a risk. It's just a game almost, like when it comes to the algorithm. You don't really know who's going to see it and who's not. But with a race car, it's totally different. You will have people that don't even go to the racetrack see your car. You know, like if you have an open trailer, right? Things like that. So you definitely have to think about all those things whenever you're putting all of this stuff together. And just get creative with your sponsorship packages, because your sponsorship packages do not have to be the same as anybody else's. Sure, you can look up. Now, sometimes a lot of race car drivers do not put their sponsorship packages out there. Like, they just want to like set up a call and that's it. I'll be honest, it's okay, but I feel it's better to be more transparent and make sure that people can actually afford to advertise with you. Because when you put your prices out there, it's a lot easier for people to tell you yes or no, right? When you don't put your prices out there and you just jump on calls with people, you have a lot less of a conversion rate, because then people don't really know how much it is to, sponsor you. And if you end up getting people on on a call that this is completely out of their price range, then you've kind of wasted your own time too. And time is money, people. Like, time is always money, right? And the less time you can be on the phone with people, making cold pitches, or even though it might be considered a warm lead, it really isn't, because they really don't fit into the target demographic that you're trying to get. Then you've wasted their time and your time. And business owners don't have a ton of time. They don't. I know, as a business owner myself, we don't have a ton of time. And then on top of that, I still work a corporate job. So I have less time than a regular business owner. So you don't want to waste people's time. So I always feel it's best to be transparent. And who cares if people see your prices? Like, I don't know why some people want to gatekeep pricing. I can understand if it's a service-based business where you quote things, but your sponsorship packages are going to be a standard, right? Like, it's not going to change unless you physically change them. And it's not going to change per client, or per sponsor. It's just going to be, okay, I have these 3 packages, or I have these 4 packages. Let's figure out which one is best for you and your business. And you go from there, right? That's how you do this. You don't base it off of anything else. You don't quote people. So once you created that, you need to create a sponsorship deck. Now, with a sponsorship deck, that's mainly for you to be able to send to potential sponsors, because when you email people, you do not want to give them your whole entire life story in an email, because I can tell you right now, when people see emails, they want it to be very short and straight to the point. So you do not want it to be extremely long. So you want your sponsorship deck to pretty much speak for you, right? So that is where you can either create one of your own, or you can have somebody else create it for you. So like somebody that has experience with marketing, especially motorsports, normally there are a few of them that do create sponsorship decks. I'm one of those people. I create sponsorship decks. I'm actually, the 2 women that I'm working with right now, I'm actually working on their sponsorship decks, like right now. So you definitely want to either create it yourself, or you want to have somebody else do it for you. And all the information that's going to be in there, it's going to be about, there's your bio is going to be in there. There's going to be photos of like you, your car. You definitely want it to be like that. You definitely want to show your car, show you in like your race suit, your racing gear and stuff. And then you also want to have your sponsorship packages in there, and any other information that you feel is very relevant to be able to convert people, for sponsorship. So definitely, like, if you have press releases that were done on you, or if you have, you have previous sponsors, put that in there, because the thing is, when you create a sponsorship deck, you can make it PDF, but you can make it to where the links are clickable. So that way, like, if you do have press releases or anything like that, or like specific sponsors, they can click on that and they can go to those websites or where, whatever it is, and they can look at that if they want to look, at more information, because that can be very important. Because especially if you race like in a specific series, or something like that, and you're not just a local racer, then that could, influence them as well, because it's like, oh, well, you travel to all these different places. If they're a company where it doesn't really matter, like they don't focus on local, then that actually helps them. Now, obviously, if it's more local businesses, then unless they have a product or service that can be done like remotely or like can be shipped, then it might not benefit them. So that also can determine what type of package they pick too. Because, you know, you might offer more to bigger businesses technically, and smaller businesses might want like, you know, a specific package that you have that might be a lower tier, but that's okay. So it really just depends on what your incentives are. But yeah, I definitely would recommend that you create a sponsorship deck as soon as possible. And if you already have one, never keep it stagnant. Like, always review it, make changes to it. Don't keep using the same sponsorship deck over and over and over again. Because the thing is, if you're not updating your sponsorship deck, then it doesn't make sense, because you also could have, you know, new sponsorship packages that you might want to do. Like, you might want to offer different things, or just even updating your photos, right? Because you might have photos that are older, and you might not look like that anymore. Like, that might be a sponsorship deck that you made 3 years ago. Also, you could add more stuff to it. So like, maybe, you know, you've had some press releases, or maybe you've had like podcast appearances, or you've had things like that. That is important, because that shows that you're marketing yourself. That shows that you're going out there and you're actually doing the work. So definitely do those type of things as well. Now, the other thing is, I mean, this goes straight into what I was talking about. You've got to market and promote yourself. You've got to do it. Like, now in this day and age, especially with social media, you have to be able to pitch brands, pitch sponsors on your own, you know? Like, now, like I said, if you do have a team to do it for you, that's great. But most racers, especially if you're just starting out, do not have that, and you have to do it on your own. Now, you need to make sure, like, when you're emailing like these brands and stuff, that you make your emails personalized and not long. Like I mentioned, people are not going to read emails for a long period of time. You've got, and like I said, you have to let the sponsorship deck pretty much, you know, talk for you. So your email should just explain like how working with you is going to benefit them, right? And how you resonate with their brand, because you want it to be personable. Because if it's not personable, then, you know, it comes off really cold and salesy, right? And so you want to make it as personable as possible. So you want them to, you know, see that you actually relate to their brand, and that, you know, especially if you've used their brand in the past, that shows that like you already have a connection to the brand. And so you're already pretty much a living testimonial for them, right? And so you definitely want to, like, you could create like a very small email template, because obviously like you're going to be using a lot of the same information, but you don't want it to be like a copy and paste job where you just send the same thing to everybody over and over again. You don't want to do that. Obviously, there's going to be certain things like you're going to mention a little bit about yourself. So that's something that you're going to do in every single email. So like that could be, you know, those little parts could be, you know, copy and paste, but the bulk of your email needs to be customized, because you do not want to come off as, oh, I just copied and pasted this template. Like, you want people to not think that you're just sending the same thing to everyone. because it's not going to be personable, because like you're going to be able to tell that it's not a personalized thing, right? Because it's going to sound like a basic generic thing, and you don't want that. You want these brands to know that you put forth the time and effort to reach out to them, and that you're not just copying and pasting and just like throwing something out there and hoping that something sticks. Because then it also looks bad on you, because then it makes it look like you're not going to really take working with them very serious. Because when you're working with somebody on a brand, you are supposed to personalize everything. Like that includes like the content that you put out there, to market their brand, because that's what you're doing. You're marketing their brand for them. Like, but it's through you. And it's through your car. It's through everything that you offer them. So you have to be willing to put forth the effort. And if you're just like throwing out generic things all the time, that's going to show that you're not serious about working with brands at all. Like it means that like you're just going to do the absolute minimum, and that's not what a brand wants. That doesn't mean that you go way above and beyond to the point where like you're like the ROI that they get isn't worth the money that they pay you, right? I mean, you also don't want nightmare sponsors either, but there has to be that balance, and you have to be willing to work well with them and make sure that it's a collaborative effort. So definitely keep that in mind. And then obviously the last thing is, once you have those sponsors, like what do you do? Like how do you keep them, right? Like that is something that you have to figure out, right? Like you've got to make sure that you collaborate with them well. And it's like, well, what, like you have to have contracts and things like that to be able to specify, hey, this is what I'm giving you. This is what this is what you're getting. This is what is expected of you. Like you have to be extremely transparent about everything, because when people are giving you that amount of money, you need to protect yourself. Also, that includes like refunds, things like that, because some people might want to try and get a refund out of you, right? Like there's all different kind of things. So you got to have all of that in place. Now, I will say this, like I create my own contracts with my motorsports marketing services, but that doesn't mean, and I'm not giving legal advice at all. I am not a lawyer, but that does not mean that you should be creating your own contracts if you truly do not know what you need to include in them. So definitely reach out to legal counsel if you have no idea and you don't want to make your own contracts. Also, sometimes, especially like working with brands, sometimes they will send you their own contracts, especially if it's a larger company. Like corporations, they tend to make their own contracts. They tend to not like let you send them a contract. Now, with those, I highly recommend, if you do not know how to read a legal contract, because a lot of people don't, because there's a lot of legal jargon that people don't really know how to read. I always recommend that you reach out to somebody, a lawyer or, some type of legal counsel to consult with, because you don't want to make a big mistake where you could end up, it can end up not being worth it for you, or, and you want to protect yourself, because I'm not saying that all corporations are shady, but some of them are. Some businesses are shady, and they will literally take a lot for nothing, because they know that people don't read. I mean, I'm just being real. And so you want to make sure that you protect yourself, and you want to make sure that everything that you are supposed to provide and everything that they are supposed to provide is completely transparent and out there. So, and obviously, make sure that you get these e-signed. Like if you do them like through email, because it's just easier. I use PandaDoc. This is not sponsored, but you know, PandaDoc, if you guys are listening, definitely hook a girl up. Like, I don't mind. But yeah, and it's free. So like you can use that to have people sign contracts, because it's easier than trying to get people to print a contract and physically sign it and then scan it and then send it back to you. Like, guys, there's no point in us doing that in this day and age. But if you don't want to physically pay for a subscription or something like that, PandaDoc is one where you can actually use it for free. So that's definitely a tip that I have for you guys. But that is it for this video. Okay, I know it was long, but I hope that you guys got all this information that I just gave you. And I'm definitely breaking all of this up into like a series, because other than that, like, this would be longer than a movie. Like, and I don't want you guys sitting here for that long. But the other thing is, I will go further into like, what do you do to keep sponsors happy? Like, what do you do once you've got those sponsors and, like, you've secured the contract, whatever. That is going to be my next video, which will actually come out in 2 weeks. I'm going back to every other week, because I started getting burnt out with the weekly videos. And so in 2 weeks, so that'd be March 3rd, you will get to see that video. So that is it, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this and that you learned a lot. And obviously, if you need any type of help with, creating sponsorship packages, a sponsorship deck, whatever, if you don't want to do this on your own because you're like, this is overwhelming, this is not something that I really have the time to do, because let's be real, your wheelhouse, your expertise is being a driver, right? And for some people, that you don't want to do all of this other stuff and you want somebody else to help you do it, reach out to me. I will leave a link in the description that is linked to a PDF that shows you like all the services that I offer. The prices are there, so you'll know if you can afford it, right? Like, I keep all of that 100, like, I'm very transparent. I don't hide any of my prices, because, to me, it's not worth it, because it's like, if you can't afford my prices, then I don't want you to try and work with me at this moment. Like, we can still jump on a call. I do a free consultation, and, I can kind of maybe hash out a little bit with you, and, and kind of get you like going in the right direction, or I can like, give you like a free resource or something like that. But I don't want you to feel like pressured to work with me. So that is why I make my prices completely transparent, so you'll be able to see that and be able to and then you just email me. My email is in the description as well, and we'll work together. So that's it, guys. But definitely like this video, subscribe, and definitely hit the bell with all, so you can constantly keep up with everything that I've got going on the channel. And you're gonna see some changes, like new thumbnail, new everything, new thumbnails, new channel background, everything, all that stuff is changing. So yeah, that's it, guys. So take care, go out and manifest your best lives, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.